Hi everyone, this is Scott Dudley from Funnel Fella Radio, and today we're doing something a little bit different. My special guest is Brenden from Master Talk, who is based in Montreal, Canada. Brenden makes YouTube videos on public speaking to help purpose-driven entrepreneurs communicate their ideas to the world. So thanks for being on the show, Brenden. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Of course, Scott, ready to rock and roll, man. Let's do it.
All right, excellent. So let's start off by beginning with your background and how you first got into public speaking in the beginning and making presentations.
Of course, brother. Happy to. So basically what happened was when I went to university, I used to do these things called case competitions. So think of it like professional sports, but for nerds. So while other guys my age were like playing footy or rugby or basketball or different sports, I didn't like any of that. So what I did instead is I applied my competitive spirit to presentations. So for 3 years, I presented a lot. I presented hundreds of times, coached dozens of people for fun, really, and then which is odd. And then after I got a job in the corporate world, I just asked myself a simple question, which was how can I make a difference in the world? How can I do better for people? And I noticed that a lot of the communication information on YouTube is really bad. So I started making YouTube videos on the subject. One thing led to another, and here we are today.
Okay, interesting. Cool. All right, so tell me a little bit about your YouTube channel, Master Talk, and how that all started and what you're doing with that.
Yeah, of course. So Master Talk is essentially a YouTube channel, like you mentioned, that I created to help the world master communication. So for people who can't afford a speech coach, for people who want to share an idea, whether you're a 6-year-old girl in Cambodia who's trying to raise a bit of money for charity, or you're a 16-year-old boy in high school who wants to start a nonprofit, who wants to start a podcast, I want to create a platform where everyone who wants those tools should get them for free.
Okay, so how often are you posting videos over there? Just
Yes, I'm pretty
roughly.
crazy on YouTube. So I post once a week, so not a lot, once a
Yeah.
week, but I create my content years in advance. So right now I think I'm in the process of finishing 2023 and I want to have 2024 done by the end of this year.
Okay, so are people like writing in with questions about public speaking is that sort of how you get your content ideas, or where do you get the ideas for the content?
Uh, Perfect. Exactly. You absolutely got that right. So there's three key areas. One is audience questions. So someone like you, let's say we have a conversation at the end and you go, hey, Brenden, you didn't make a video. And then I take a note. So audience question interaction. That's one. Second one is coaching. So let's say when I'm coaching clients, like this morning when I was coaching my executives, they're giving me insights. They're saying, Brenden, did you just think about this? I want coaching on this. Did you think there's a lot of them where I go, oh, I actually never thought about that. I can still create the content, but no one's asked me that question yet. So doing that one-on-one interaction with people helps a lot. And then the third thing is really just myself in other industries. So let's say I'm sitting in a basement listening to a podcast about, I don't know, something random, personal development. And I go, wait a second, there's a tie in here with public speaking. Let me take a note on that. So those are the three areas where I pull content from.
Okay, cool. So most of the people listening to this will be sort of marketers, like funnel builders, or they'll own funnel agencies. So probably the most relevant thing for them would be sort of doing webinars, which is a common marketing tool these days. So just got a few sort of questions relating to webinars. So first of all, I mean, personally, I'm looking to improve my speaking skills as well. I bought a book recently, Brian Tracy's Speak to Win. You've probably heard of that.
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
big fan of Brian's work.
yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, so I'm also interested in this myself personally as well. So the first question would be sort of mastering the fear of making presentations, because this was a big thing for me for a long time, and I'm getting better with the podcasting, but still got a long way to go. So what would be some tips for getting over the fear of making presentations?
Yeah, I'll keep it simple for today. There's a lot of layers to this, but I would say the biggest one is the following question. And then I'll expand on the question. How would the world change if you were an exceptional communicator? Okay, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you have a family, you got kids, you got a business, you got funnels to convert people through, whatever it is,
Yeah.
ask yourself the following question. How would the world change if you're an exceptional communicator? And by answering that question, you'll realize the following. The fear will always be there. The fear will always be there. As a professional speaker, there's many times in my life, in my career, where I'm still scared to give presentations. Absolutely. But the difference is that the fear always loses to the message, Scott.
Ah,
If the fear and the message were in a boxing match together, the message will always get the knockout punch. The fear will always be there. The fear will always be in the ring, but
yeah.
it'll never win. What does this mean? This means the following. Everyone's scared of public speaking based on different areas that we can talk about, right? It mostly has to do with the education system. Okay, we've all been taught to believe that public speaking is a chore,
Mm.
right? I mean, if all the presentations you give in your life are mandatory and you're presenting it to students who don't care, to teachers who don't have time to coach you, what else should we expect? Of course, we're supposed to be scared of public speaking. There's no other solution. So what's the key? The key is have a belief system. Why are you giving this presentation in the first place? One side of podcasting is saying, oh, I want to like grow my business. But the real side of podcasting is probably what you're doing, is saying there's a lot of people in the funnel world, the funnel hacking / marketing world,
Yep.
that I want to help because I'm somebody in that space. I want to add value to these individuals. That is what we call a belief system. It is a reason why we're delivering this presentation. It is a reason why we're doing what we do. And in my case, it was simple. I started Masterstruck when I was 22, Scott, and I coach executives that are triple my age or sometimes double my age. Why do they trust me with their transformation? There's two simple reasons. One is preparation. I've just done this a lot more than most people.
Yep.
But the second reason that's very important is because of that belief system. Was I scared of those executives when I started last year? Absolutely. I was like, geez, why are they listening to me? But what scared me more was not delivering free content to 16-year-old Julia who needs me. If I don't make content for her, and I spend a lot of money on my YouTube channel, we're talking 5 figures, right? I spend a lot of money on that thing.
Yep.
If I do not make money for my executive clients, I cannot serve Julia, the person I'm trying to serve, who cannot afford my rates. So this is not a confidence thing where I go, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm kind of scared. No. It's not like drinking a glass of water. It's realizing that my message matters so much to Julia that I need to suck it up and figure out how to coach these executives. And that's how I was able to drive the results I've driven.
Yeah, it makes sense. I like the boxing match analogy as well. That's sort of a good way to explain it. Yeah. So, all right, with your presentations, do you normally have sort of like a structure to them, or is it more sort of off the cuff where you're just sort of able to just present without sort of having a firm structure in place?
Absolutely. I always love people who think simple, Scott. So I'm glad you're asking me simple questions. That's the way to go. Okay, structure. I'm not going to bore all of you and tell you the 8 frameworks and all that stuff. There is one thing you can implement today that is the easiest tip in my playbook that you can do tomorrow, and it'll get you 10x results. It's called the puzzle method. Okay. Public speaking in many ways is like a jigsaw puzzle, Scott. You know those 1,000-piece puzzles you kind of put together with your family, especially now, I guess, with COVID, since nobody's going outside.
Yeah.
So if I asked you, Scott, when you're building this puzzle with, I don't know, a kid or some family member or a cousin, which pieces do you start with first and why?
I always start with the outer pieces because that's the easiest pieces to identify.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. So the question we'd ask ourselves is, why don't we do that in public speaking? We have a presentation at work, in our business, to the marketing funnel teams we speak to everything that we do. And yet, when we prepare a presentation, we start with the middle pieces first. We shove a bunch of content down the middle. We start with the middle pieces first. And then we get to that presentation. We get to the last slide of that presentation. And it sounds something like this. Thanks. That is probably 97% of all the presentations I've seen in my life.
Yep.
So what's a better solution here? The better solution is do it like a jigsaw puzzle. Start with the edges first. Practice your introduction 50 times, not 3 times, not 5 times, 50 times. It's actually not that hard. It'll take you an hour. It's a 1-minute intro. This is not like a 40-hour presentation. Same thing with the conclusion, Scott. 50 times. What's a great movie with a terrible ending? A terrible movie. Do the same thing. In 2 hours of practice, not 2 days, 2 hours of practice, you'll look at yourself and go, wow, I'm pretty good at this introduction thing, this conclusion thing. I'm actually a pretty good speaker. Now let me tackle the middle. But much like a jigsaw puzzle, who does 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles alone? Nobody. So do it with your friends, do it with your family. Even today as a speaker, professionally, I still get my friends to give me feedback on my keynotes. If everyone else did that, we would start to change the perception that public speaking is a chore for what it actually is, which is a way to make a difference.
Okay, good way to put it. All right, so let's sort of think of sales presentations now. Do you have any tips or tricks for sort of maximizing conversions and actually getting results from a presentation?
Easy, simple. Okay, the key to sales in the most empathetic, honest, and authentic way is simple. Every time I talk to somebody, a business owner, market funneler, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I always ask them the following questions, Scott. They always have a bad answer for me. I always go, how many people are in your funnel? How many people are doing this thing? They go, I don't know, 50, 75. And I go, how many people do you want in your business as a client or a customer? They go, 500. And then I ask the really important question, which is the following. How many out of the 50 people that you're currently serving have you had long dinner conversations with? Like over food. Like you've literally met them for a couple of hours. You know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
And you've met them. Or in the context of COVID, you've had a 1 hour virtual Zoom call.
Yeah.
The answers I get are like horrible. Like, you know, it's like three. You've talked to 3 of your 50 customers. You're SME and you don't know all 50 people that are buying from you. That sounds absurd.
Yeah.
Is my point of view that you should be talking to all 50? No. But my point of view is you should have 10 long dinner conversations at the minimum. I'll make it easy challenge for everybody. Make it 3 because I'm sure most people 0 who are listening to me right now. You know, they're marketing with their data and their funnels. They're not actually talking to the people.
Yeah.
And then through those insights, you'll know exactly how to market to them. You'll know exactly what to say. So how would you explain my program back to me? Well, I would explain it like this. If they're not explaining the idea in the way you want them to, it's because you're marketing it in the wrong way. Right?
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, yeah. The 6-year-old and the 60-year-old, when I ask both of them what master talk is, they're both going to say the same thing. The 6-year-old's going to say, well, you're a YouTuber on speaking, right? Exactly. That's exactly what I want her to say. And the 6-year-old's going to say, well, you know, all these young kids are always working on these YouTubes and they're working on the public speaking, right? But presentations are important, so I get it. So the 60-year-old gets it too. And then the 40-year-old or the 30-year-old or the 25-year-old who's listening to a full-length podcast, this is true with any age group, but I'm just kind of shooting numbers here just to make things interesting, is they're going to look at Brenden and go, I understand the thesis behind his YouTube channel, but the general public doesn't need to know the thesis, right? That's the point I'm driving. Have long dinner conversations with customers. They'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, I guess sort of most people prefer to skip that these days, particularly with automation. They just want the computer to basically do it all for them. But I mean, there's no real substitute for actually talking to people and getting their feedback one-on-one. So I agree with you completely.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to give a concrete example from my own business. How did I get so many insights that none of my industry didn't catch on? It had nothing to do with data or managing funnels. It had everything to do with conversations. Here's what I realized, Scott.
Yeah.
A lot of people like Brian, that I very much respect and admire, made one fatal mistake in their analysis of the industry. And the fatal mistake is none of these speaking experts are creating YouTube content that is highly scalable and easy to teach, that is only focused on communication. So if you think about Brian's work, and I admire the crap out of him, by the way, he is a very mixed bag in the content that he delivers.
Yeah.
Personal development, finance, public speak, doesn't mean the content's bad by any means, right? But because he's split, his expertise is split into 3 key areas, he can't go deep into one. But he also doesn't care. He's retiring soon. He's already made a lot of money in his practice. Yep. Whereas someone like me, when I look at the industry and I talk to a 14-year-old girl and I'm at a workshop with her and I'm delivering a solution, And I'm asking her, what do you think about public speaking? She's like, I'm like really scared. I'm like, why are you scared? It's not that, like, in my head, I'm like, this is not that hard. Like, but like, there's nothing, and I don't know what public speaking. That's when I realized the insight. You can't get that insight from a data point. You get the insight from looking at her and saying, wait a second. All of the speaking coaches on YouTube are too academic. They're focusing on books. Why would you read a book to learn public speaking? I don't understand that. Like, it doesn't make sense. But that's the point of driving, right? You don't
Yeah.
get these insights if you don't talk to your customer.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. All right. So talking about mistakes, that was actually the next question I was going to ask you.
Yep.
You sort of read my mind here. What are the most common mistakes that you see people making that are trying to learn public speaking?
Absolutely. The biggest mistake is the simplest one, which is nobody does the same presentation 100 times, and they should, right? All of the best speakers in the world, and I'll give you the easiest one, Tony Robbins.
Mm.
He's been doing the same damn seminar for 40 years. Longer than probably you've been alive, and definitely longer than I've been alive, right? Same seminar. UPW, Unleash the Power Within. He's been doing it for 35 to 40 years. So let's say me and you, we go to that seminar this weekend. Okay. Tony comes up to you and he goes, Scott, I've been doing the same seminar for 40 years. You want to talk about porcupines this weekend? What are you going to say? You're going to say, no, Tony. I spent $2,000. I took 3 days of vacation to be here. You're going to do the same thing that you did everyone else. The best speakers in the world, our expectation, even if we don't like to say it from an audience perspective, is we want them to do the same thing. That's why we give them money to do the same thing. It's like if I did 15 different things and I start talking about lasagna cooking, you're like, what the hell's going on? Right?
Yeah.
Same thing with public speaking. The mistake that most people make, and this is mostly not their fault because this is how the schooling system teaches them to do it, is to present everything one time and never focus on the delivery. You have like 9 subjects in university, you got 9 different presentations. So you go 1, 2, 3, and those skills, that learning habit you developed gets transitioned into the working environment. So if you're a business owner who's listening right now, or you're a podcast or a creator, figure out the one topic that is repeatable. What is the one thing in your business that you need to present over and over again? And how can you create a system around that presentation and say, I need to present that one thing 100 times and focus all my energy on mastering that. And when that presentation is world class, I will become a world class speaker in every presentation.
Yeah. Perfect. Love it. All right. So sort of with an eye to the future, what are you researching right now or curious about regarding the future of public speaking, particularly with the impact of COVID, for example?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me personally, I've learned a lot of things because obviously I lost a lot of my business early. I've recovered all of it since, but I mean at the beginning I lost quite a bit of revenue because of all my speaking engagements getting canceled.
Yeah.
I think what I learned one thing personally as a business owner is how to diversify your risk, like how to think about how do I move my revenue in a way that is profitable and sustainable for both the vision that I have as a company. And for me, it was very simply transitioning from a speaking model to a coaching one. That's definitely one thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
That's one part. The second thing is from a from a speaking perspective, what I learned is there was online presentations are very extreme. And what I mean by extreme in the sense that if you're not a good speaker in the real world, you're going to be horrible in the online one
Mm.
because you don't have the same energy that you could pull.
Yeah.
But if you're really good at a communicator in the online world, it's a double-edged sword. You will become demonstrably profitable in the online space because now you can speak to thousands of people at the same time rather
Yes.
than a crowd of tens of people. Like yesterday, I keynoted for a conference. There was 110 people listening to me virtually, and I was just sitting on a base. I'm sitting on a mattress. I'm talking to you, literally.
Yeah.
Right? It's like crazy. And all these people across Canada, I would have had to travel 6 different like weeks. I would have had to do a 6 week tour. I solved all of it in an hour. Right. So I think there is an immense opportunity in the online speaking world that not many people are tapping. So what I'm doing now is I'm creating a lot of resources for online speaking.
Okay. Nice. All right. So regarding your business, what are your goals for the next 5 years?
Yeah, I would say for me, the goal is simple. I don't really care so much about revenue as much as the next funnel guy or person. I'm
Yep.
more about getting my YouTube channel to as many people who can afford me. So for me, the goal is to be the #1 YouTuber on the platform for public speaking, so that I can
Nice.
democratize the information. I think what I realized, and the revenue comes with it, I've attracted executive clients, blah blah blah. That doesn't really matter. The point that I'm driving,
Yeah.
that I want to drive for everyone listening, is Dale Carnegie, despite the excellent work he's delivered in his time as a human, How to Win Friends and Influence People, like tens of millions of copies sold, he was also born in the wrong time period of history. Dale
Mm.
Carnegie couldn't appear on a podcast. Dale Carnegie couldn't have had his own YouTube channel. And when
Yeah.
I look at that, I got really lucky that I happened to be born in the right time period of history where I can have conversations like this. So if
Yeah.
I died tomorrow, people could still listen to something like this, can still listen to my YouTube videos and learn from me forever. Because that is the right way to learn public speaking, through a YouTube video, through a conversation like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, the goal is to be the next Dale Carnegie.
Nice. Excellent. All right. So who are the biggest influences on your speaking career? We've already sort of talked about Brian Tracy. Who are the others?
Yeah, I'll give you one who is my #1. Scott Harrison, who's the CEO of Charity Water. I think his book Thirst is a must read for anyone who wants to master marketing, messaging, and storytelling, especially in the context of a nonprofit. Because remember, as for-profit entities, by learning from the nonprofit sector, it allows us to figure out how to do more with less. Scott Harrison, that I've strong passion for and admiration. He was able to create a worldwide brand through Charity Water with very little budget as a nonprofit. And he's raised hundreds of millions of dollars for charity. And obviously, speaking career thrives. I think he speaks like 150 times a year. He's insane. So
Okay.
that he can raise the money he has. I think it's a
Yep.
great case study for people to study.
Excellent. All right. So just to wrap this up, where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get to know me more, Master Talk is probably the easiest way to get to me. Just go on YouTube, type Master Talk in one word, and you'll be able to reach me.
Excellent. All right. Perfect. Thanks a lot for your time, Brenden. Really appreciate those insights, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Of course, Scott. Thanks for having me.
All right. See you, man.